Hi folks, the Filipino P here, and this is one of those videos that's bound to draw the ire of my Filipino viewers. But everything I'm about to tell you is the truth. Some people may not like it, but too bad. I'm not acting on behalf of the Board of Tourism. I'm here to paint an accurate picture of what it's really like here, not just to regurgitate stuff from travel brochures. So get ready to hear both the good and the bad as I answer the question, is the Philippines really a paradise, or is the fantasy just a mirage? So don't quote me on this because I read it a while ago, and when I tried to find my source, I couldn't locate it again. But apparently, a survey was conducted among foreigners who came to the Philippines with the intention of living here. Of the people intending to stay, almost 50% didn't make it past their second year, and over 60% were gone by the third. Clearly, there's something about the Philippines they didn't expect, something that changed their minds and their plans. If I had to take a guess, I'd say it's because they had some fairy tale image in their heads, or they watched too many YouTube videos that lavished praise and compliments on my country without detailing the flip side. Now everyone knows about our reputation as a friendly people, just like everyone knows about our problems with poverty and bad infrastructure. But today, I want to talk about the little details that you might not be aware of, things that might mean nothing to you, or might tip the scales in your plans to visit or retire here. But in either case, the more you know about a place, the more informed your choice will be. And since I started this channel 4 years ago, that's been my mission, to tell you things that others won't. So let's get started. Red Rover, don't bring your dog over. If you're planning to bring a pet or to adopt one once you get here, know this. The Philippines isn't exactly pet-friendly. If your pet bothers a neighbor, there's a chance they'll simply poison it. So the safest bet is to keep your pet indoors if possible. That'll also keep them safe from speeding vehicles that aren't even watching other traffic. So they certainly aren't looking out for Fido. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I've even witnessed some drivers purposely targeting animals for sport. There's also a wide array of communicable diseases out there, being passed around by an endless sea of stray animals. So you better make sure your pets are fully vaccinated before they ever step foot outside. And while it's true there are isolated incidents of Filipinos eating dogs, that's illegal here. And there are so many unwanted canines running around that it's highly unlikely that yours will be grabbed. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, but to many Filipinos, animals are as disposable as an empty tube of toothpaste, and the lack of compassion of some people here leaves me dumbfounded. You folks that have visited the Philippines know exactly what I'm talking about. Not exactly something you're gonna read about in the travel brochures. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So you better stock up on apples, because when you go to buy medicine, you want to make sure that what you think you're getting is the actual product. There are cases of watered-down generic brands or even counterfeit medications, so you always want to buy from a reputable pharmacy. But even if you manage to get all your prescriptions properly filled, what you really need to worry about is emergencies. Unlike many places in the West, you won't see an abundance of defibrillators and other life-saving equipment around every corner. And if you need the services of an ambulance, be prepared to wait a while. The international standard for emergency response times is 8 minutes, but in the Philippines, it's between 15 to 30. So as time is ticking away, your ticker might not wait around. Just another thing to be cognizant of for those of you with health issues. One small step for a man. If I had a peso for every time I've seen a foreigner lose their footing and go tumbling to the ground, I'd be a rich Filipina. Now, it might not bother you so much if you're younger and light on your feet, but if you're older or have mobility issues, this is gonna affect you. The bigger cities here in the Philippines do have things like sidewalks and areas that are nice and flat. But once you get out of town, you better walk with your eyes on the ground. Deep holes, cracked pavement, large rocks, rebars sticking up at lethal angles just waiting for you to impale yourself. power lines dangling in front of your face. These are just some of the things you'll have to contend with when walking around. The Filipinos have built-in radar to avoid these things, so we're almost never the ones who end up on the ground with a twisted ankle. But you guys, it's like watching someone crawl through a minefield. When you add in all the slippery grass and muddy places that have no pavement at all, my best advice is to make sure that whatever shoes you're wearing have a lot of good tread on them, because you're gonna need every bit of traction you can get. And it's not always due to poor maintenance or lack of concrete. Even newly built houses have doorways that are raised up a few inches from the surrounding floor, which almost guarantees that walking from room to room will result to a stubbed toe. I don't know why we do things like that, but it sure makes getting around a real adventure. This is one of those things that Filipinos don't even notice. But when you come from a place where everything's designed to keep you from stumbling, it'll be one of the first things that gets your attention. Have a nice trip! Living a life of leisure. Now, the Philippines has plenty of stuff for an adventurous soul. We've got unparalleled opportunities for diving. We've got more waterfalls than you could explore in a lifetime. But if those activities aren't your cup of tea, you might find yourself at a loss for what to do with yourself. The truth is, there just aren't that many hobbies in the Philippines. We've got stuff like golf, or bowling, or basketball. But outside the bigger cities, you're not going to see many exotic hobbies. If you're out in a province looking for activities like archery, roller skating, ballroom dancing, or skydiving, forget about it. Once you leave the city, your options fall to about zero, and the only available pastimes might be drinking and gambling. And for those of you who are into firearms, I got bad news for you. It's illegal for foreigners to own guns, so you're gonna have to leave your collections behind. Now, a lot of you guys are fine with that, and all you want is peace and quiet. Well, people will definitely leave you in peace, but good luck with the quiet. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Okay, everyone knows you can't drink the water in the Philippines. You need to buy bottled or filtered water that you can have delivered to your house. But what about when you go to a restaurant or anywhere else that you can personally tell where the water came from? Well, you should always ask for what we call service water, which is water that's been properly filtered. But how about the ice cubes? A lot of people don't consider the source of the ice in their drink. And sometimes, especially from street vendors, they've been made with untreated H2O. And don't bother asking about what kind of water was used to make the cubes, because there's a 50-50 chance you won't be told the truth anyway, even if they know the answer, which they may not. It's just not a big deal to a lot of Filipinos who built up a tolerance for the tap water, but you foreigners can be at a much greater risk. Untreated water can carry cholera and typhoid fever, so it's not something you want to take any chances with. And here's something else you probably didn't consider. When you brush your teeth, don't even rinse your mouth with tap water, because you might ingest a little by accident. It's especially hard to remember when you're traveling back and forth between the Philippines and the West. Even though I've been back for over a month now, I still catch myself bending down to rinse my mouth from the faucet. Now, I might be one of those people that's built up a tolerance for it, but I'm not taking any chances, and neither should you. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Sometime during your visit, you might want to rent a vehicle, maybe a car or a jet ski. And before you do, I have some advice. Before you sign anything, take out your cell phone and film the vehicle from bumper to bumper, the inside too, and let the guy you're renting it from watch you do it. What sometimes happens here is that you rent a jet ski, take it out on the water, and then when you return it, you're told that you've damaged it, and the owner demands that you pay for repairs. Now, you know that the dent he's pointing at was already there, but do you really want to stand there and argue with a guy who's threatening to call the local police? I know a foreigner that found himself being accused of causing pre-existing damage, and not only was he denied his security deposit, but they tried to charge him for the bogus repairs. He could have avoided all that with just a few photos. And there's a bonus tip. If you're ever in an accident, you might be tempted to move your vehicle to the side of the road, out of the way of busy traffic while you're waiting for the cops to arrive. Don't do that here in the Philippines. Even if your car is sticking out in the road, just leave it right where it is. Take out your camera and film the entire accident scene, including any other vehicles that were involved. If you don't have pictures of what happened, the other driver will quickly move his car and change his story, so it was all your fault. And trust me, the police that arrive on the scene won't be able to figure out who's telling the truth. So always keep your cell phone handy and don't be afraid to use it.
Grab a cab.
The vast majority of cab drivers are honest, hardworking folks. But once in a while, you'll encounter one that tries to take advantage of a foreign visitor, especially at airports. If they think you just fell off the turnip truck and don't really know where you're going, they'll use the classic scam tactic of saying their meter's not working, or they'll give you an inflated price to take you to your destination. So before you even get inside the cab, make sure he'll be using his meter, and if you're told it's not working, then find another cab. In the worst cases, if you look like a juicy target, the driver will take a detour and stop to pick up another passenger who robs you at gunpoint. Not a good start to your Philippines vacation. So how do you avoid getting price gouged or worse? Well, my advice is to use Grab. It's kind of like Uber, where you download a phone app and book your ride online. It's often cheaper, and the best part is that the price is already set, so you don't have to play the faulty meter game. On top of that, Grab taxis have a better system of documenting the transaction with the driver's name and plate number. Combined with a predetermined fare, you put yourself at less risk of having a bumpy ride. Two peas in a pod. Do you enjoy having a best buddy? Someone to go explore with, go to the pub with, and share your thoughts with? Well, related to the lack of hobbies can be the lack of suitable friends. A lot of foreigners report having trouble making good friends here because in the smaller towns and provinces, you'll be presented with a pretty small cast of characters to choose from, and the only thing you might have in common is that you're not a Filipino. You know how hard it was to find a new best friend back in the West, especially as you get older? Well, multiply that by about 100, and you'll get an idea what I'm talking about. In some places, you might even find that there are only a couple foreigners in the whole barangay. A French guy that barely speaks English, and a guy from India that you don't have any common ground with. Now, a lot of guys say that they don't need friends, and they're just fine spending time with their Filipina partner. But if you're a social butterfly, prepare to have your wings clipped. Customer disservice. If you want to call a business in the Philippines for almost any reason, good luck with that. While most businesses realize that phone service is a vital resource, that fact has somehow escaped a lot of business owners here. And you'll probably discover that the only way to get your questions answered is to visit the store in person. For the life of me, I still can't figure out why. But even simple things like calling in a prescription or inquiring about the availability of a product or service will often require you to physically drive to the business. It's archaic, it's frustrating, it's inefficient, and it's Filipino. With billions of hours spent running around town and standing in lines, I don't even want to think how much it costs the country every year in lost productivity. But that's probably the last thing you'll be thinking about when you're just trying to find out if the hardware store has the screws you need, and end up spending half an hour in traffic just to find out they don't. Happy shopping! Now, so far I've been talking about some of the things that people don't know about before they actually come to the Philippines. Things that most videos don't mention. They might seem trivial or unimportant at first, but they can start to wear on you after a while. I could probably do about 10 sequels to this video, and maybe someday I will. But what about the good stuff? The things that'll be better than you expected? Well, again, it all depends on what's important to you. The Philippines is not for everyone, but if the following things sound good to you, then maybe the inconveniences are worth it. Life is simple here, and you'll be free to live it however you wish. And you'll be pretty safe too, because the Philippines has a relatively low rate of violent crime, so you can spend your days in peace. A lot of you have told me that you're wanting to get off the hamster wheel in the West, working like a maniac while barely having enough to live. And that's something you can do here. Enjoy a slower pace of life. Sure, we might not have all the options you have back home, and things aren't as fast or reliable here, but the trade-off can be worth it, because you'll get a chance to slow down and smell the durian. Okay, maybe not the durian because that stinks, but you can slow down and smell the jasmine. The point is, you'll have a lot more of your life to spend the way you want to, and the older you get, the more important that becomes. You won't have to sort through a bunch of junk mail every day because most of us don't even have mailboxes. You'll have to work your butt off just to stay above water because it's a lot cheaper to live here. And you won't have to worry about keeping up with the Joneses because the Joneses don't have anything anyway. Every place has its own distinctive set of pros and cons, and one man's heaven is another man's hell. It all depends on what you're looking for, and the secret to success is knowing what you want. So take off the rose-colored glasses and give us a serious look for what we really are, not just what you want us to be. See you in the Philippines, or not. Well, that's it for this episode, and I'll be back on Friday with something completely different. Till then, folks.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like your own personal genie. Every week, I fulfill 2 of your wishes when I bring you magical content about life and culture in the Philippines and explain the differences between East and West. If you appreciate my efforts, all I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and tap the notification bell so you can see what I've conjured up next. And if you're really feeling like a generous master, feel free to share this video with friends and visit my Patreon page as well. And now, for that 3rd wish, you have only to ask, and it's my pleasure to make it come true. What did you wish for? Master. I don't think I can do that, and Mrs. Master would not be happy about it.